All right, guys, couple tips. This is on a Samsung. Now, when you're changing your element, make it a habit. Keep everything together. You can just remove the two screws, and everything stays the way it's supposed to be. If you're gonna replace the element, pay attention to how everything is taken apart, so that you're able to put your machine back together without having a problem. This dryer was actually on the side of the road. I was on a service call, I saw it, and I was wondering, in fact, I was gonna do a video of it, meaning when I first saw it and when I started to open it up. But yeah, the main thing is I want to show about this is the homeowner was doing a repair on this dryer, and it's not an old dryer. In fact, you can see those rollers, those are the newer type rollers, so it's a fairly new machine. A lot of times you can look up top here and you can tell how old a unit is. A lot of times they have a lot of wear up top, so it's a young machine. So in fact, very shiny. So what I want to talk about is if you're going to change your element, pay attention. See that? That's grounded. So I think he replaced this and he didn't put it in correctly. When you install these, you have to make sure that everything's lined up, or you're going to be wasting your time. Now, a grounded element is when you can see where parts of it's laying in here, and you can see how it's melted or bent. So we're going to look under here and you can see where it's actually was embedded, all of those marks. So something wasn't done correctly, and this actually is not an old element either. So just a quick tip, just make sure that everything is secured, and before you actually put your element back together, you should do a continuity test, and that is putting 1 meter lead on there and then one on the housing, and that will tell you if the element itself is touching metal. The element wire is not supposed to touch that or this. It is total isolation from start to finish. Those white things are porcelain, and the resistance of the power going through it turns it red hot or orange. And so we're going to put a new element in this, and we're going to get it back up and running. So that's just a quick tip, and we're going to get this thing vacuumed out and cleaned, and we're probably going to check just to make sure that the board is supplying voltage before I actually do more work. So we're going to set this out, and we're going to put our meter leads, and we're going to crank it, turn it on. We got to raise this up and plug the unit in, and we're going to see if we're getting voltage, and then that will confirm that everything else is good, and we can just go ahead and replace the element itself. All right guys, so we have the motor. Basically the motor is ready to go. What we're doing is basically simulating that the belt is on. That does have a belt switch, so if the belt is not activated or the belt switch is not activated, the machine will not start. All right, and now we have our leads, and they're both tucked in. We have our meter set to volts AC. That's not connected. That's for the sensor. We're going to do time dry. Make sure these are not touching metal. Make sure they're not touching anything. It's on concrete. You could use a piece of wood or a piece of rubber. Doesn't matter. Just not metal. No metal. All right. So now what we're going to do, and this is also good practice to do before you actually put the front on and get it all buttoned up. Because if there's a short or if there's a problem, you can catch it and you're not too frustrated. All right. So what we have here, we have the control board that's plugged in. We have the door switch and the door is closed. So basically everything is ready to go. And all you're gonna do is power and start, and we should get our voltage 240 volts around that area. And if that's good, then we're good to go. We just need to replace the element. All right, so nothing to worry about over there, just going to be worrying about that. All right, let's plug in and turn on. All right, powering on. Time dry. Pressing start. 3, 2, 1. Board just clicked in. Have our voltage. So okay, so the unit is live right now. So we're not getting 240. So we need to see why. I heard the board clicked. We're not getting that to the element. So now we're going to put our meter leads right on those two guys. And we're going to see if we're getting the voltage. Or let's make it simple. Let's check this guy. Okay? Because if you look at the power, how it goes, power comes in on that blue, goes across to him. Okay? So if this guy is bad on the black, you're not going to get any power. So we could actually just leave the blue right where it's at, reconnect on that black, and we should get 240. Or on the other blue, he comes in from the board. So that's what we're going to do. The red is good, so we're going to leave the red, and we're going to just connect to that blue, and we should get 240. And that tells us we have a problem with that guy. Possibly him, but him, your high limit. All right, so let's turn power off. All right, guys, so now we're connected. As you remember, or red, and we took the blue out of circuit. The blue came up from the element, went into the high limit, or high limit thermostat, goes through the thermostat, goes through the thermal cutoff, and come out the side. So we remove that from there, and we're connected basically straight from the board. So now we're going to press start, and if our board is functioning, we're good to go. All right, guys, so we've just checked the motor and we've checked the board. So now all we need to do is replace the element, and this dryer is fixed. So just be mindful, make sure you put your wires back. And this is a quick way of actually testing to see if it's actually worth to fix your dryer. And now you just need to replace that. Just make sure you do your continuity test to see if it's grounded before you actually button this thing back together. All right. And in case somebody is asking if this was bad, yes, this is bad. And the reason why this blew is because the element was grounded. So it's a safety thermostat. It cuts off power. So instead of you getting 240 volts, energizing the body, it cuts it off. And that's that. He is bad. He will have to be replaced. And I don't have my alligator clips. Okay, nothing on there. And I do have tricks on getting these reset. They're not actually resettable, but if you're in a bind, once everything is fixed, you can kind of reset these. And what you do, you push these down. And it's not always recommended, but I've done it and everything was totally fine. Make sure those are not touching, and put these down. And what you want to do, get on a tall ladder or a chair, and you just basically just drop it and it resets. Sometimes you have to do it a couple times, and it's normally pretty good. Sometimes I've heard people claim that the metal, once it's flexed or once it trips, you should never do it. And it's basically a bimetal, guys. It's resettable in a sense if you heat it. In fact, I also heard you can actually freeze them and they repop. So actually, I'm going to actually throw this one in the freezer. I've never actually done it before in the freezer. So I'm going to do that and see what it does. I'll get back and let you know.